What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In today's video, we are going to discuss the Pistons win and their first preseason game of the year against the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to go through a couple individual performances that were standing out, and then we are going to talk a bit about the team and a couple small things that we can take away from this first preseason win. So first thing I want to get straight into is a couple performances that really caught my eye. The first one should be pretty obvious if you watch the game, and that is Jaden Ivy. Jaden Ivy finished the game with 22 points to go along with 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 0 turnovers. He shot the ball 6 of 8 from the field. He was 3 for 3 from the 3-point line and 7 of 9 from the free throw line. He just played a really good game. A couple days ago at the Pistons open practice, Ivy really kind of looked like, in person to me, the person who maybe had made the most strides this summer. He just really seemed to be filling out. His shot looked clean, and all of that translated into the first preseason game last night. He was able to knock down 3 of 3 from the 3-point line, all on catch and shoot, in motion corner threes that looked very clean. He was able to get to the free throw line with absolute ease. He was getting downhill, and it didn't lead to any turnovers like it had sometimes in previous years. So overall, just a really great game for Jaden Ivy, and really hoping he could take this momentum into the regular season. So for the second outstanding performance, do want to go with Ron Holland here. Ron Holland finished the game with 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. He had a steal and a block. He shot 4 of 10 from the field, but his impact was beyond the box score. When he checked into the game, the momentum for the Pistons and the energy for the Pistons just completely shifted. He finished the game with a team high plus 25. He was able to do a lot of dirty work out there, whether that was getting some offensive rebounds, fighting for second chance opportunities, taking some charges. He was really just doing it all out there. He was making the extra pass when needed. There was a lot of times where he did have some room to shoot, but he was smart enough to make a quick extra one more pass to another guy who was open, and they were able to knock it down and lead to some assists for Ron Holland. But overall, just a really good game for Ron Holland. His body looks NBA ready. His athleticism is very evident. His defense looked very good. He was able to pick a pocket once or twice last night. Just really nice game for Jaden Ivy. He really kind of carried the energy last night, so was happy to see that. And now moving on here, we do have to talk about Wendel Moore quickly. Wendel Moore did not see the floor until the second half, but just in the second half alone, mostly in garbage time to be fair, but he did finish the game with 14 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks, while shooting 5 of 6 from the floor in only 17 minutes. So just wanted to shout out Wendel Moore. He didn't get into the game in the first half. He mostly just entirely played all of his minutes in the second half, but he looked really good out there. He looks like he has some good size. Looks like he might be a player who can be useful for the Pistons if they do find themselves in a pinch at some point throughout the season. So just talk about the game here a little bit. The Pistons, of course, started off the game with a huge deficit. I feel like I blinked at the start of the game and the score was 20-3. The Bucks were up. It felt like that it might be just one of those nights where it would be easy to turn off the TV maybe a little bit early just because it's a preseason game, and they were looking like they were going to get blown out. That was mostly at the hands of Damian Lillard, who knocked down 3 quick threes at the start of the game. Brook Lopez knocked down 1 or 2 and got in on the action, and just like that, the score was 20-3. But that really was no problem for the Pistons. They just kept their same lineup out there, their starting lineup of Cade, Ivy, Fontecchio, Hardaway, and Duren, and they were able to start chipping away back at that lead as quickly as it came. And before you knew it, at the end of the first quarter, they were down by 11 points, and by halftime, the game was pretty close, and the Pistons were up quickly after halftime. So it was really cool to see them not just absolutely roll over with a 20-3 point deficit, and overall was really happy with the energy that the team had brought last night. The team in itself looked a lot differently offensively than they did last year, just as a whole. It did not take very long for you just to pick up on the fact that a lot looks different offensively. And it was really evident when they were playing lineups that included like a couple different shooters. There was a couple times where they had Hardaway out there with Beasley, or they had Fontecchio out there with Beasley, and then sharing the floor with like Cade and Ivy at the same time. And you were just able to see a lot more spacing than the Pistons have had over the past couple of years, which led to really good ball movement. I was really impressed with a couple of the plays where everybody on the floor had touched the ball was zinging around the perimeter, and then would finally find a shooter who was practically wide open for an open three. And it was just like, wow, we did not see very much of this last year. So it was very, very refreshing to see the ball movement and the spacing and just the available shooters that JB Bickerstaff had at his disposal to keep cycling through this game. So there was always some shooting out on the floor. The Pistons did finish the game shooting the ball 12 of 37 from three. Now, that's actually probably more than they averaged last year. I definitely think they were below 37 attempts from the three-point line per game last year. That's pretty high, but nothing out of the ordinary crazy for 2024 basketball. But just off the eye test, the shooting does look pretty legit. Beasley was 3 of 7 from the three-point line. Moore, 2 of 2. Ivy, of course, was 3 of 3. Even Cade was 2 of 6. So it was really nice to see the shooting. It's definitely something that we've asked for. It's something that we've been wanting for a long time on this team, is to have more available shooters, and it definitely looks like they have it. One other thing that really caught my attention was the fact that Bickerstaff had only played 8 players in the first half. I thought this was pretty out of the ordinary, especially because looking back at last year, of course, Monty Williams was pretty infamous for going 11 deep sometimes in the first half alone with 11 players in the rotation, where Bickerstaff seemed to really shy away from that. Now, by the end of the night, we ended up playing, I think, like 13 different players, but that's because it's a preseason game, and by the fourth quarter, the starters on both teams were absolutely checked out. But just in the first half alone is probably a better indicator of what a rotation might look like for Bickerstaff, and it was pretty short. The 8 players who actually got in the first quarter or first half were just the starters: Ivy, Cade, Duren, Tim Hardaway, and Fontecchio. And then off the bench, he used Beasley, Stewart, and Holland. And outside of that, Paul Reed, Sasser, Moore, Tosan, Danis, all of those guys, they did not see the floor at all in the first half. So will be interesting to see how that plays out, especially considering that Tobias, Asar, and Klintman all were not able to suit up for this game. Will be pretty interesting to see how that rotation shakes out going forward. I know Bickerstaff had mentioned that he wants to try a couple different units, a couple different rotations during the preseason, but going to be interesting to see how that plays out when everybody's healthy and everybody's back. Overall, it was a pretty fun game to watch. I'm just happy the Pistons are back and playing basketball again, but I don't think that this first preseason game could have gone much better, and we have a lot to look forward to, especially with Jaden Ivy, who absolutely balled out last night. So let me know what you guys think. We'll talk soon.